Hello, beautiful souls. May this day find you in perfect health, may your life be filled with longevity and joy, and may abundance flow to you from every direction. I'm so grateful you're here. Today's journey takes us through the art of tiny house design, spaces that prove comfort isn't measured in square footage, but in how thoughtfully every corner is curated. Let's discover together how less can truly become more when design is guided by mindfulness and purpose. Step into a world where every square foot tells a story. This tiny house proves that downsizing doesn't mean compromising on beauty or comfort. With warm wood tones wrapping around every corner, strategic lighting that creates intimacy, and a seamless flow between living, cooking, and resting spaces, this is intentional living at its finest. Natural materials breathe life into the compact layout, while thoughtful details like floating shelves, integrated storage, and carefully curated decor transform limitations into opportunities. Large windows invite the outdoors in, blurring the boundaries between inside and out. Here, less truly becomes more, and every element serves both form and function in perfect harmony. Great tiny house design rejects the notion that comfort requires square footage. Instead, it leans into proportion, material honesty, and atmospheric layering to craft spaces that feel genuinely expansive. The high ceiling and strategic window placement flood the interior with soft daylight, while the warm wood tones ground the space in quiet elegance. Functional zones are defined by subtle shifts in elevation and furniture placement rather than heavy partitions, preserving sightlines and encouraging a natural flow. Plants, tactile fabrics, and minimalist shelving add personality without overwhelming the senses. This approach proves that when architecture is stripped to its essentials, what remains is pure intention, a home that moves with you, adapts to your rhythm, and turns everyday moments into something quietly extraordinary. Tiny house design is less about shrinking your world and more about refining it. This space demonstrates how intentional proportions, continuous materials, and strategic light can transform a compact footprint into something deeply expansive. Rather than dividing rooms with heavy walls, the architecture relies on vertical layering and fluid transitions, allowing movement to feel natural and unhurried. Warm wood tones ground the interior, while clean lines and open sight lines add modern clarity. Every element serves a quiet purpose, storage disappears into the structure, lighting is layered for mood, and living greenery softens the geometry. This is design that understands restraint, not as limitation, but as a path to clarity. When space is carefully considered, it stops feeling small and starts feeling sacred. The quiet power of tiny house design lies in its ability to weave comfort, craft, and calm into every square foot. Here, a restrained palette of warm woods, soft textiles, and crisp white surfaces creates a cohesive backdrop that lets natural light take center stage. Large glass doors frame the changing landscape, turning the outdoors into a dynamic living mural, while indoor greenery and tactile layers add organic warmth without visual weight. Linear lighting and exposed ceiling beams draw the eye upward, enhancing vertical volume, while the open floor plan ensures air and energy circulate freely. This isn't just a compact dwelling, it's a carefully composed environment where material honesty, spatial intelligence, and atmospheric serenity converge. When design is this thoughtful, small spaces stop feeling limited and start feeling like sanctuaries. Great tiny house design understands that atmosphere is built through restraint, not accumulation. This space demonstrates how a carefully edited material palette, warm woods, soft textiles, and clean geometric lines, can craft an environment that feels both grounded and effortlessly serene. Rather than filling every corner with furniture or decor, the layout embraces intentional negative space, allowing proportion, texture, and natural light to carry the visual weight. Storage integrates silently into the architecture, transitions remain unbroken, and the connection to the outdoors stays completely unobstructed. This approach strips away the unnecessary, leaving only what truly supports daily life and mental clarity. It's a philosophy that treats space as a living, breathing entity rather than a static container. By prioritizing material honesty, tactile comfort, and spatial intelligence, tiny house design transforms limitations into opportunities for mindfulness. The result isn't just a smaller home, it's a more intentional one, where every surface, every shadow, and every open sightline works together to cultivate calm. In an era of excess, this style of architecture offers a quiet rebellion, proving that when design is deliberate, even the most compact spaces can feel deeply restorative, elegantly balanced, and profoundly at peace. Tiny house design thrives on the mastery of vertical space, transforming structural limits into opportunities for layered, intelligent living. This interior demonstrates how a compact footprint can feel remarkably expansive when architecture embraces elevation and strategic zoning. The floating loft isn't merely a sleeping platform, it's a deliberate reclamation of unused volume, anchored by a staircase that seamlessly integrates concealed storage. Instead of dividing the floor plan with heavy partitions, the layout relies on changes in height, material transitions, and open sightlines to define distinct living zones. Notice how the eye travels effortlessly from the grounded seating area up to the resting loft, guided by consistent wood tones, linear rug placement, and carefully scaled glazing. Large windows and a structured skylight dissolve the boundary between inside and out, flooding the space with natural illumination that enhances depth and airiness. This approach proves that tiny living isn't about confinement, it's about spatial choreography. When verticality, transparency, and architectural continuity work in harmony, even the smallest dwellings become deeply functional, visually balanced, and profoundly calming. The magic of tiny house design lies in its ability to turn constraints into creative opportunities. This space captures how smart circulation and multi-level zoning can craft distinct atmospheres within a single, fluid volume. Notice how the eye travels effortlessly from resting zones to daily routines, guided by thoughtful material shifts and ambient light that adapts throughout the day. Furniture and fixtures are carefully scaled to serve rather than dominate, keeping the atmosphere calm and uncluttered. By prioritizing spatial intelligence over sheer size, this design philosophy proves that mindful living isn't about having less, it's about curating more meaning into every square foot. Tiny house design thrives on the intelligent use of volume rather than just floor space. This interior captures how exposed beams and vaulted ceilings can transform a compact footprint into something remarkably open. Instead of boxing functions into rigid rooms, the layout relies on continuous sightlines and strategic elevation to guide movement naturally. Warm wood tones ground the architecture, while carefully placed windows invite daylight to soften every corner. When design prioritizes proportion over square footage, even the smallest dwellings breathe with clarity. It's a quiet reminder that true comfort isn't measured in size, but in how thoughtfully a space supports your daily rhythm. The quiet brilliance of tiny house design lies in its refusal to clutter, choosing instead to curate every surface with purpose. Here, a balanced mix of raw timber, matte finishes, and soft fabrics creates an atmosphere that feels both grounded and effortlessly inviting. Notice how storage, seating, and preparation areas integrate without competing for attention, each element scaled to serve rather than dominate. Large windows and thoughtful placement of natural light keep the volume feeling airy, while tactile details add warmth without visual weight. This approach strips away excess, proving that mindful living thrives on clarity and craftsmanship. When architecture is edited with intention, even the smallest footprint becomes a sanctuary of comfort, function, and quiet elegance. Tiny house design thrives on the intelligent manipulation of light and volume. This interior demonstrates how a glass canopy and strategic window placement can dissolve physical boundaries, turning a narrow footprint into a luminous corridor of calm. Rather than relying on walls to define zones, the layout uses continuous flooring, linear sightlines, and a restrained material palette to guide movement naturally. Every surface is chosen to reflect daylight, enhancing depth and airiness without visual clutter. When architecture prioritizes transparency and proportion, compact living stops feeling confined and starts feeling expansive. It's a quiet proof that true spaciousness isn't about square footage, it's about how thoughtfully a space captures and channels the elements around it. Great tiny house design understands that a home should move with you, not against you. This space demonstrates how intelligent circulation and layered functionality can support a full lifestyle within a modest footprint. Notice how the layout naturally guides you from morning preparation to evening relaxation, with each zone carefully scaled to preserve openness. Built-in storage, integrated seating, and expansive glazing work in harmony to eliminate clutter while maximizing connection to the outdoors. This isn't just about downsizing, it's about upgrading how you experience space. By embracing spatial intelligence, material warmth, and unobstructed flow, tiny house architecture proves that true comfort isn't measured in size, but in how intentionally a space supports presence, calm, and everyday grace. The elegance of tiny house design lies in its refusal to compromise between function and atmosphere. Here, a restrained palette of pale timber, soft textiles, and clean architectural lines creates a cohesive environment that feels both grounded and effortlessly light. Notice how zones are defined not by partitions, but by thoughtful furniture scaling, integrated storage, and subtle shifts in texture. The kitchen, lounge, and resting areas flow into one another, encouraging a natural rhythm that adapts to your lifestyle. This approach strips away the unnecessary, leaving only what truly supports mindful living. It's a quiet reminder that when space is carefully curated, it doesn't just house you, it centers you. Tiny house design thrives on the intelligent choreography of light and movement. This interior demonstrates how an open, unbroken layout can dissolve the feeling of confinement, turning a compact footprint into a remarkably fluid environment. Rather than boxing functions into rigid rooms, the architecture relies on continuous sightlines, strategic vertical layering, and a restrained material palette to guide energy naturally. Large glazing invites daylight to sculpt the volume, while integrated elements keep surfaces clear and circulation effortless. When design prioritizes proportion over partition, even the smallest spaces breathe with clarity, proving that true spaciousness is crafted through intention, not square footage. Great tiny house design understands that a home should align with how we actually live, not how we're told to live. This space demonstrates how strategic proportions and uninterrupted circulation can transform a narrow footprint into a surprisingly expansive experience. Large openings dissolve the boundary between inside and out, while a restrained palette of natural materials grounds the interior in quiet serenity. Furniture and built-in elements are carefully scaled to serve rather than dominate, keeping the environment uncluttered and deeply restorative. This isn't about compromise, it's about curation. By embracing flow, light, and architectural simplicity, tiny house design proves that when space is thoughtfully composed, it doesn't just house your belongings, it nurtures your presence. Tiny house design is fundamentally about transforming limitation into atmosphere. This interior captures how a continuous wood palette and strategic glazing can turn a compact footprint into a deeply cohesive sanctuary. Rather than treating small spaces as puzzles to be solved, thoughtful design embraces them as canvases for intentional living. Notice how every surface, from the ceiling beams to the built-in seating, works in harmony to create visual warmth without overwhelming the senses. The layout avoids rigid boundaries, allowing light and movement to flow naturally through the space. When architecture prioritizes material honesty and psychological comfort over sheer size, a tiny home stops feeling confined and starts feeling like a refuge. It's a quiet reminder that true elegance isn't about filling space, but about curating it with purpose, rhythm, and an unwavering commitment to calm. Great tiny house design understands that atmosphere is shaped by rhythm, not accumulation. From this vantage point, you can see how vertical volume and clean geometric lines work together to create a space that feels expansive yet intimately personal. The open layout encourages effortless transitions, while carefully placed lighting and natural accents soften the architecture's structure. Rather than fighting compact dimensions, the philosophy embraces them, proving that spatial intelligence and tactile warmth can turn everyday routines into moments of pause. When every inch is guided by intention, a small home stops being just a shelter and becomes a sanctuary for presence, balance, and quiet confidence. Thank you for being here and for allowing Silent Heal to be part of your journey toward more intentional living. If these tiny house designs sparked inspiration, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who believes that comfort comes from clarity, not clutter. Your engagement helps us reach more people who are seeking peaceful, purposeful spaces. Remember, whether you're downsizing or simply reimagining your current home, the principles of thoughtful design can transform any space into a sanctuary. Until we meet again, may your life be filled with moments of stillness, may your heart be light, and may you always find home within yourself. Take care and see you in the next video.